In the aftermath of the yacht accident, a grim hush fell over the Forrester estate's private dock as two black SUVs idled beneath the misted glow of marina lights. Inside one, Brooke Logan lay unconscious, her once vibrant eyes closed beneath an intricate web of bandages and monitors. The humming beeps of hospital equipment underscored the gravity of her condition, traumatic brain injury, doctors warned, unpredictable in its course. To the outside eye, she was simply Brooke, a powerhouse in the fashion world and a pillar of resilience. Yet within the folds of her fractured memory slumbered a secret so devastating that it threatened to upend the very foundations of the Logan and Forrester dynasties. During fleeting moments of lucidity, her lips would part with a tremulous murmur, "My lost child." Each time she spoke, her words trailed off into the haze of her fevered confusion, the phrase dangling like a ghostly proclamation. Only Eric Forrester, watching from the threshold of her ICU room, recognized the import of that whispered refrain. Years ago, on a night laden with youthful hope and reckless passion, Brooke had given birth in secret to a child whose existence she had concealed out of fear of scandal, of shattered reputations, and of a love that dared not speak its name. Eric, as the unwitting architect of her salvation, had stood by her side, ensuring the newborn's discreet exit into the hands of an adoption agency. He had sworn to protect Brooke's secret, burying the truth in the silent vault of his conscience. Now, in the sterile confines of modern medicine, that secret clawed its way back to the surface, demanding to be heard. The Forrester patriarch, grizzled yet dignified, found himself torn between loyalty to his lifelong friend and the desperate need to control the damage that revelation would unleash. In the softly lit corridor, draped with framed couture sketches and the echoes of family legend, Eric replayed the conversations of decades past, wondering if he could steer Brooke safely back from the brink of this dangerous memory. Meanwhile, outside the hospital's sliding glass doors, Hope Logan paced with frantic urgency. Ever since that fateful evening when Brooke had surfaced from the yacht's overturned cabin clutching her forehead, Hope's instinct had been to rally to her mother's side. But when she arrived, she found not the comforting embrace she expected, but the eerie weight of unreadable charts and confidential glances. No one would explain what Brooke had said or why the medical team seemed so wary of Hope's presence. It was only when Hope slipped into Eric's office, drawn by the soft glow of a lone desk lamp and the crackle of a cell phone recording, that she discovered the first clue, Eric's hastily erased footage. A snippet of Brooke's delirious admission intended for his ears alone. As she scoured the file, her heart thudded with dread. If Brooke spoke of a lost child, and if that child was not her own, then the bedrock of Hope's identity was at stake. She had always believed herself to be Brooke's firstborn, conceived in love with Ridge and nurtured through every triumph and tragedy. But now the specter of DNA evidence loomed large. Hope, determined and methodical, resolved to seek the truth at its genetic root. Under the veil of night, she contacted a private laboratory, an old friend of the family who owed her favors, and arranged for comparative tests between her blood and Brooke's. Each vial of crimson liquid, each sterile label, represented a potential fissure in the mother-daughter bond she had cherished all her life. As she waited for results, Hope replayed every moment with Brooke, the bedtime stories, the whispered confidences, the tears shed together. She felt a cold pang in her chest imagining that perhaps those memories belonged to a stranger. In the sterile waiting room, she pinched the bridge of her nose, willing herself to remain composed. Beyond the glass partition, Brooke's room lay silent except for the persistent rhythm of her ventilator, a fragile metronome marking the tension of every passing minute. When the laboratory finally called, Hope felt as though time itself had stopped. The technician's voice, clinical and detached, delivered two simple words, not related. Relief crashed over Hope like a tidal wave, carrying with it a storm of gratitude and newfound determination. The DNA verdict confirmed what her heart longed to believe. She was indeed Brooke's daughter, bound by blood and love in unbreakable ties. Yet the sensation of relief was tinged with sorrow and empathy for her mother. Brooke's lost child remained unaccounted for, a phantom existing beyond the reach of memory and medical record. Hope recognized that her own triumph was tempered by the weight of her mother's anguish. She vowed to help Eric unravel the enigma, to delve into adoption logs, hospital archives, and the faded signatures of long-forgotten social workers. Each lead carried the promise of revelation and the risk of further heartbreak. Back at the ICU, Eric stood at Brooke's bedside, his face lined with decades of triumph and regret. He knew the worst was not simply revealing the truth, but the cascade of consequences that would follow. The Forrester brand, built on elegance and integrity, could withstand corporate sabotage and fashion rivalries, but could it survive a scandal born of decades-old lies? Would Ridge, stubborn and wounded by past betrayals, stand by Brooke when her secret stepped into the light? And what of the child herself? Where did she live, under what name, in what family? Would this revelation shatter her life as it threatened to shatter Brooke's? Eric's hand hovered above the monitor tracing Brooke's feeble pulse, wishing he could erase the past or at least soften its jagged edges. He resolved to control the narrative, to protect Brooke by orchestrating a cautious unveiling that might soften the blow, an internal family meeting, discreet legal counsel, a media strategy prepared in advance. But most of all, he needed Brooke to wake, to wrest control of her memory before the world, or worse, a vindictive adversary, claimed that narrative for themselves. Outside the hospital room, Hope re-entered holding the DNA report. She placed it gently in Eric's hand, her expression a blend of triumph and concern. "She's mine," Hope whispered, voice thick with emotion. Eric exhaled, relief washing through his stoic facade. Together, they stood united, mother's confidant and daughter's champion. Fortified by truth yet haunted by the questions that remained. Brooke's path to recovery would be arduous, paved with physical therapy, cognitive rehabilitation, and the slow, painful excavation of memories long buried. But now, as those beeping monitors coaxed her from unconsciousness into the lucid world of reality, she would not walk that path alone. The Forrester and Logan clans, long entwined in rivalry and romance, would rally around her. And Hope, armed with proof of her lineage, would step forward not just as a daughter, but as a guardian of her mother's legacy, determined to bring the lost child home, or, at the very least, to give voice to a story yearning to be told. In the high-stakes world of fashion empires and heart-wrenching drama, this revelation marked the dawn of a new chapter, one where the bonds of blood and the power of secrets would collide in a tempest more potent than any runaway storm. And at the center of it all stood Brooke Logan, fragile but unyielding, poised to reclaim her past and redefine her future, guided by the unbreakable ties of family and the relentless pursuit of truth. Finn's day begins like any other at Bayview, reports to review, a ward to check on, the usual hum of medical machinery rising and falling like a held breath. But the moment he notices a blank space where Liam's MRI scans should be, a cold surge of suspicion winds through his veins. Grace, smiling sweetly in the gravity of her white coat, insists it's a harmless clerical glitch. Yet Finn's instincts flare. Liam's brain tumor has become the centerpiece of her pitch for urgent fundraising, a millionaire-dollar campaign promising life-saving treatment at an out-of-state clinic. He rigs up a data retrieval program in the hospital's secure server room, fingers dancing over keys while his heart hammers against his chest. The logs tell the story. Grace's credentials were used to delete the original diagnosis, the entire medical record scrubbed clean. She then fabricated pathology reports, MRI images, a treatment timeline, every detail as convincing as glass. And somewhere between the billing department and a private trust fund, $1 million vanished into the nebulous accounts of an offshore shell corporation. Finn freezes the data, breath-catching. This isn't a simple case of malpractice. It's embezzlement, forgery, conspiracy. He shuts down the system, resolves to confront Grace in private. Walking toward her office, he braces himself. He admires her clinical brilliance and her warmth with patience, but now he steels himself for betrayal. He slides the tablet across her polished desk. Her brow curves in a practiced frown as she watches the logs scroll up. "I don't know what you're implying, Dr. Finn," she says, voice cool as antiseptic. He names the dates, the file accesses, the diverted payments. She leans back, face pale, and in that moment Finn knows he's cornered a cornered animal. Grace's poised mask shatters. She confesses breathlessly to fabricating the tumor diagnosis, diverting the funds earmarked for Liam's chemotherapy. She swore she'd put the money back, she tells him, but the account has been compromised by partners she refuses to name. Finn demands to know who. She offers only that it's a medical fraud network so extensive it spans clinics, laboratories, even charities. He presses harder. She vomits up one name before sealing her lips again, Brooke Logan's Hope for Tomorrow Foundation. And suddenly Finn's world tilts. Brooke's name isn't just a name. She's the heart and soul of the Logan legacy, matriarch of a clan he's grown to respect, the woman whose empathy and generosity have funded free clinics across the city. If Brooke's foundation has been used as a conduit for illicit gains, the scandal would bury not just Grace, but the entire Logan dynasty under legal suits, criminal charges, front-page headlines. The cold reality forms in his mind. He can't look away. He protects Liam, and he protects the innocent, including Brooke. Finn pockets his courage and calls Grace's bluff. "Show me the network. Show me the money trail." She wrings her hands and talks. There are shell companies registered in Cyprus, lab invoices submitted under forged signatures, a rogue radiologist in the Caribbean running phony scans, payments funneled through the Hope for Tomorrow account to give the transfers a veneer of legitimacy. Finn's head spins as he absorbs the scale of the fraud. He realizes that if he reports this immediately to the Board of Trustees, the Gardner probe will barrel through the foundation, tearing at Brooke's reputation, possibly indicting her for willful negligence, if not complicity. He faces a moral crucible: expose the crime at once, or gather irrefutable proof first and warn Brooke in private. He calls his closest confidant on the Logan side, Hope Logan, now a lawyer and Brooke's daughter in spirit, asks her to meet him in a discreet location. As he hangs up, he steels himself for another battle, protecting the truth. Meanwhile, Grace makes a call of her own, voice urgent as she pleads with her shadowy backers for cover. Finn, refusing to be outpaced, begins downloading every shred of digital evidence to an encrypted drive. He taps a few messages to a forensic accountant he trusts, instructing them to trace the money through every tax haven shell. The evidence mounts like dry tinder. In the hush of an off-hours hospital, Finn watches as spreadsheets populate with transactions $250,000 paid to a Caribbean diagnostic group on March 12th, $500,000 to Elysian Labs on April 3rd, $250,000 wired to a dummy corporation with no physical address on April 25th, and every payment signed off by no one but Grace. Then, buried deep in the ledger, a transaction to Hope for Tomorrow Foundation for administrative fees, a mere $5,000, but enough to tie the network to Brooke's charity. As dawn bleeds into the sky, Finn knows he must choose between confidentiality and catastrophe. He packs the evidence, summons Hope to his car. She arrives in a swirl of concern, clasping her leather briefcase as though it could stop the world from crumbling. In a deserted garage, Finn lays out the truth: Grace's treachery, the forged diagnosis, the million-dollar heist, the fraudulent network that points back to Brooke's foundation. He shows Hope the shell company names, the false invoices, the drained account. Her eyes widen with a mixture of fury and heartbreak. "We can't let her take the fall alone," Finn says, voice low but fierce. Hope nods, fingertips trembling around the edges of her briefcase. "We'll handle this, but we have to be careful. If Brooke finds out the way this is going, she'll collapse, and the press will devour her alive." The two form a pact to shield Brooke while they dismantle the fraud from the inside out. They enlist the forensic accountant to compile a final report, and Hope reaches out to a trusted attorney to arrange pro bono counsel for the foundation. All the while, Finn arranges a covert meeting with the federal inspector who once commended him for his diagnostic acumen. The inspector agrees to keep the investigation quiet until they have ironclad proof. But even as they prepare their bulwark, Grace realizes the walls are closing in. One night, Finn arrives at his apartment to find the door ajar, papers strewn across the hallway, his laptop missing. A frantic text from Hope warns him that Grace has gone silent. She's likely on the run, contacting her partners for extraction. Finn races to the hospital only to discover that Grace has sabotaged the network backups, erasing key data. It's a last-ditch effort. But in her panic, she left fingerprints in the logs, and the forensic accountant salvages the metadata. The net tightens once more. As Grace slows in her escape, her encrypted phone pinging in an industrial park, federal agents close in, snaring her with a pre-dawn raid. They handcuff her as she pleads for mercy, realizing too late that Finn's meticulous evidence was enough to indict half a dozen individuals in the network, including the shell company executives and the rogue radiologist. With Grace in custody, the network collapses like a house of cards in a windstorm. But the crisis is not over. Brooke Logan learns of the scandal by reading an anonymous tip sent to her personal email, a dossier of emails, memos, and bank statements linking her charity to the fraud. She calls Hope immediately, voice quivering with disbelief. Hope allays her worst fears. Brooke did not authorize any of the fraudulent transfers. Investigators will see that her foundation's accounting was clean except for Grace's behind-the-scenes manipulations. But the public relations nightmare looms large. Brooke staggers through the Logan living room, flanked by Ridge, Steffi, and Thomas, each with their own blend of concern and reproach. Cameras flash through the French doors as reporters clamor for comment. Brooke stands tall despite the storm. "I am horrified by this betrayal," she tells them, voice steady but eyes wet. "My foundation was used as a tool for deceit. I will cooperate fully with the authorities to see that justice is served." The press tidal wave crashes around her, but she finds a strange relief in speaking the truth. The next hours become a blur of televised interviews, legal consultations, and emergency board meetings. Hope sits beside Brooke in the attorney's office, offering a constant hand on her mother's back. Finn provides expert testimony on Grace's tampering with Liam's files, vindicating Brooke and exposing the full scope of the conspiracy. Under the glare of strobe lights and journalistic scrutiny, Brooke's foundation emerges battered but intact. Grace's crime is seen for what it was, and the Logan name is spared the worst. Still, the fallout is profound. Donations dip, sponsors hesitate, and Brooke must rebuild the foundation's credibility from the ground up. Yet from this crucible comes a renewed sense of purpose. Brooke harnesses the public's empathy by launching a new initiative: transparent oversight committees, regular financial audits, and survivor advocate partnerships. The fashion community rallies behind her, organizing a benefit fashion show where the proceeds go directly to verified patients and no middlemen. At the gala, Ridge surprises her with a heartfelt speech, and the audience rises in applause that reverberates like an anthem of redemption. Finn watches from backstage, his heart swelling with pride for the heroism of his closest allies. Liam, his friendship with Finn strengthened by the ordeal, attends the gala with Poppy, celebrating his own recovery and lending his celebrity to the renewed mission. Grace remains behind bars, awaiting trial, her fate sealed by the meticulous work of Finn and Hope. And the Logan family, tested by greed and deceit, emerges more united than ever. In the years to come, Grace Gate becomes a cautionary tale in medicine and charity sectors alike, a reminder of the fragile trust that binds patients to doctors and donors to causes. And at its center stands Brooke Logan, a survivor of scandal who transforms betrayal into triumph, guided by the integrity of those who refuse to look away. In the relentless drama of Bay City, where empires rise and fall on secrets and lies, the story of Finn's discovery, Grace's deceit, and Brooke's redemption becomes legend, a testament to the power of truth, the resilience of family, and the unwavering resolve of those who dare to expose the darkness lurking in the heart of goodwill.